Hello and welcome everyone to the next continuation of the LODR regulation. Now today we are going to understand the common obligation of listed entity. That is chapter 4 of listing regulations 2015. So let's get you started. Here it is. LODR 2015. Common obligations of listed entities. So in this series we are going to understand from regulation 5 till regulation 14. Starting off to which the first one we have is regulation 5. Now in this fifth regulation, what it says, listed entity shall ensure that the key managerial personnel, directors, promoters, or any other person dealing with the listed entity complies with the responsibilities or obligation, if any, assigned to them under these regulations, right? So fifth says comply with the responsibilities or obligation, if any, assigned to them by the listing agreement, and who all are responsible: AMP, director, promoters, any other person dealing with the listed entity. Moving on to the next regulation, that will be your regulation 6. It says compliance officer and his obligations. Now, what it says, that the listing entity shall appoint a qualified company secretary to be the compliance officer. It is mandatory for the listed entity to appoint company secretary as a compliance officer, except unit issued by mutual funds which are listed on stock exchange. So listed entity to appoint qualified CS as compliance officer, right? And it is mandatory. Exception for units issued by mutual funds that are listed on recognized stock exchange. Now, responsibility. Now, this compliance officer has certain set of responsibilities. We will break down into three major responsibilities. The first one says ensuring the conformity with the regulatory provision applicable. To listed entity in the letter and spirit. So here it says the company secretary or the compliance officer has to make sure that the listed entity which is listed on a recognized stock exchange is complying with the provision applicable in the true letter and spirit as it is supposed to be. Which moves me to the second point here. This is A, this is B. Ensuring that the correct procedure has been followed that would result in correctness, authenticity, and comprehensive of the information statements and report filed by the listed entity. Reports and statement filed by the listed under these regulations. Okay. Procedures are being followed in such a manner that they ensure the correctness, authenticity, reliability, comprehensiveness of the information which are filed by the listed entity in the terms of report or statement. Moving on to next is monitoring email address of grievance redressal division has designated by listed entity for registering complaints by investors. Right. So, listed entity, the compliance officer shall make sure that they monitor the email that has been provided to the investor for registering any sort of their complaints, and they are being addressed. To which that brings me to regulation 7, which we will follow up on new page here. The first one is regulation 7 onto the new page, and that talks about the share transfer agent, that is SA. So company can have in-house or can consider to hire someone who can become their share transfer agent. Now it is important for listed entity to appoint a share transfer agent or manage the share transfer facility in-house, right? So what they can do is appoint share transfer agent, all right, or manage in-house facility for STA, right? Now to this, they need to ensure that all activities in relation to both physical and electronic share transfer are maintained either in-house or registrar to an issue and share transfer agent registered with the board. Okay. Now both has the same job is activities related to physical and electronical shares transfer facility are maintained. Okay. Now to which it can be in-house or separately appointed, and share transfer agent has to be registered with board. When I talk about board, it's SEBI. That's it. Now there are certain requirement for a share transfer agent. So the company can manage in-house transfer facility, but when the total number of holder exceed 1 lakh, okay, 1 lakh, it shall appoint registrar to an issue and share transfer agent or registered with the board as a category 2 of share transfer agent. So this is an optional, right? They can, but there's a condition: when number of shareholders more than 1 lakh. Now listed entity to appoint registrar to an issue. All of these are basically merchant bankers, majority of them. Share transfer agent and or registered with board as category 2 share transfer agent. ये तो है, या तो आप ये अपॉइंट करो शेयर ट्रांसफर एजेंट, या कैटेगरी 2 जो जो शेयर ट्रांसफर एजेंट है रजिस्टर्ड इन कैटेगरी 2, either you appoint this or this. Now the listed entity shall submit a compliance certificate to the exchange duly signed by the board, by both compliance officer of the listed entity and authorized representative of the share transfer agent wherever applicable, within 1 month from the each of half quarter of financial year, certifying compliance with the requirement of the regulation. Right? So ये तो बात हो गई अपॉइंटमेंट की. साथ ही साथ what they need to do is every quarter submit a compliance certificate. Signed by compliance officer. Okay, signed by compliance officer to the exchange. Okay, compliance officer of the listed entity and authorize the representative of share transfer agent. अब ये this is can be wherever applicable. They can go ahead and stamp it accordingly. Now when this quarterly report has to be submitted, so once the quarter end, every quarter submit a compliance certificate. कहाँ से? One month from end of each quarter, right? And ये share compliance certificate क्या रहेगा? It says all the requirement under this regulations are complied with. That is what the compliance certificate is all about. Now, on to which that brings me to a fact that what if there is a change or an appointment of a new share transfer agent. Now, in that case, any change or appointment of new share transfer agent. Now, listed entity enters into a tri-party agreement. Okay, between existing share transfer agent, new share transfer agent, and listed entity. This will intimate SEBI within 7 days. To all of this, let's just summarize it really quickly. Now, the share transfer agent has to be registered with board. A company can appoint a share transfer agent, or they can manage an in-house facility. This is optional. But where the number of shareholders is more than 1 lakh of the listed entity, then they have to appoint a registrar to an issue, share transfer and share transfer agent, or someone who is registered with board in category 2 of share transfer agent, to which these transfer and the share transfer agent shall make sure that the activities related to physical and electronic shares transfer facilities are maintained accordingly, and they have to submit a compliance report at the end of every quarter which says that all the requirement under this regulation are complied with, which shall be signed by a compliance officer and authorized representative of share transfer agent, if any. How, when to submit? 1 month on the end of each quarter there has to be submit. Meanwhile, if any change happens in the appointment, or their new share transfer agent has been hired, then a tri-party agreement shall exist between the existing share transfer, new share transfer, and the listed entity, and we have to intimate SEBI within 7 days. Moving on to the next one is regulation 8, which talks about operation with intermediaries registered with board. Now, for listed entity, wherever applicable, shall cooperate with and submit a correct and adequate information to the intermediaries registered with the board within the timelines and procedures specified under the Act, regulation, and circular issued thereunder, such as credit rating agency, registrar to issue, and share transfer agent, or debenture trustee, or etc. So listed entity ka, this is an obligation. So listed entity wherever applicable shall or cooperate with and submit correct and adequate information to the intermediaries registered with board within timelines and procedure. Specified under Act, regulation, and circulars issued there under. Right, that can possibly be your credit rating agency registered to the issue and share transfer agent or debenture trustee, etc. Right, this was your regulation. Right. Moving on to the next, we have preservation of document, that is regulation 9. Now regulation 9 has simple and easy obligation to follow, that says preservation of documents to which the listed entity shall have policy for preservation of document approved by board. Okay, so let me just complete it. Board of directors, not the board I want to refer to as SEBI, it's board of director of the company. And listed entity may keep document in electronic mode. Now they are further categorized into two. The first one says documents whose preservation are permanent in nature. right? The second category is documents with preservation of period not less than 8 years after completion of relevant transactions. Moving to which, that brings me to a point where we are going to talk about the next regulation, that is regulation 10. It talks about filing of information. The filing of information, listed entity to file reports, statement, documents, filings, and any other information with recognized stock exchange on electronic platform as specified by board. Now here board is Board of Exchange or by recognized stock exchange, right? Moving on to next, regulation 11, which talks about scheme of arrangement. Now the listed entity shall ensure that any scheme of arrangement, amalgamation, merger, reconstruction, reduction of capital, to be presented to any court or tribunal does not in any way violate, override, or limit the provision of security law or requirement of stock exchange. So this is it. So the listed entity shall ensure that any scheme of arrangement, amalgamation, merger, reconstruction, reduction of capital to be presented to any court tribunal does not in any case violate, override, or limit the provision of security law or requirement of stock exchange. That brings us to regulation 12, which is in regards to the payment of dividend. Or interest or redemption or payment. A listed entity can use any medium of electronic mode for payment which has to be approved by RBI. Okay, it is already approved by the RBI. Any kind of electronic mode payment can be done which is approved by RBI in the manner specified in Schedule 1 for payment of dividend or interest, redemption or repayment. Right now, for the cases where E mode is not possible, then payment to be made by the ways that I'm about to mention here. In that case, payable at par, warrants, and check. All right. Now, amount payable, right? These are the ways that by which the payment can be made. Now, if the payment is more than 1,500 rupees, okay, then the payable warrants or check shall be sent by speed post payable at par, right? So payable at par is basically they issue checks which are accepted in any of the bank throughout our country. This was your regulation 12, which says the payment of dividend or interest or redemption or repayment. Listed entity can make payment in electronic mode approved by RBI in the manner specified in Schedule 1. Payment can be made for dividend or interest or redemption or repayment. In case if the electronic mode is unavailable, the payment if more than 1500 rupees, it shall be sent by a speed post payable at power, that can be a warrant or a check which is generally acceptable in any bank of the country throughout. Off to which, if it's less than 1500, then as the way convenient for the listed entity. Moving on to next, that brings me to regulation 13. Second last for the video. So regulation 13, as we look here, it talks about grievance and redressal mechanism. And we'll go in a little bit of detail to this. So it is. Now, the listed entity shall ensure the adequate steps are taken for expeditious redressal of investor complaints. And they need to ensure that it is registered on SCORES platform, which is provided by SEBI, or such other electronic platform or system of the board as shall be maintained from time to time in order to handle investor complaints electronically as manner specified by the board. So I'll just put it across in a diagram manner or a flow chart, let's say. So listed entity to maintain or ensure the steps are taken for adequate for the expeditious redressal of investor complaints. Listed entity ensures expeditious redressal of investors complaint, right? Also, it is this mechanism, the listed entity ensure that it is registered on SCORES platform. Need to ensure it's registered on SCORES or any other platform specified by board. Okay, on to which as mandated and specified time to time. Hope and all of this is done for reversal of investor complaint. All right. As manner specified by board. Now, listed entities shall file with the recognized stock exchange on quarterly basis within 21 days on the end of each quarter a statement giving. So, let's do this again. This is your year. Every quarter every quarter after 21 days from the end of quarter, LE to file statement. Now this statement shall mention number of complaints pending at beginning of quarter, complaints received during quarter, disposed of during the quarter, and at last unresolved during the quarter. Summarizing, listed entity ensures that there is a expeditious mechanism to be established for reversal of investors' complaint as manner specified by the board. Also, such mechanism has to be registered on SCORD or any other scores or any other platform specified by the board as mandated and specified time to time by the board for the same cause. And the end of every quarter after 21 days from the end of quarter, the listed entity to file the statement complaints कितनी थी क्वार्टर स्टार्ट होने से पहले, कितनी कंप्लेंट्स सॉल्व हुई, कितनी कंप्लेंट्स डिस्पोज हुई और कितनी अनरिजॉल्व है. इसका एक स्टेटमेंट जाता है 21 days from the end of each quarter. To the last regulation of this video and end of chapter 4. Here what we are going to do is we are going to let you know to the next chapter 5, which is from 15 to 48. I would let you know how we're going to work it out because that is going to be a little bit lengthier. So let's just solve this and I'll just summarize it for you that for the next chapter how are we going to proceed with this. So brings down to regulation 14. It's easy peasy, nothing much to go in depth or detail with. It talks about fees and other charges to be paid to the investor. So, to the listed entity, the listed entity shall file the statement complaints pending at beginning of quarter, disposed of during the quarter, complaints received during quarter, disposed of during the 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 to recognize stock exchange. Now, the listed entity shall pay all such fees or charges as applicable to the recognized stock exchange in the manner specified by board. That's it. We are through the chapter now. The next regulation for the videos, I want to have you address me on the comment box when you're watching it. And first of all, these videos, I want you to use your book, your notebook, as well as a pen, and write along with me. That will give you a better experience and help you to understand what are you exactly trying to study and holding on to it. For the next video is going to be a bit lengthy. You can let me know the manner that I'm going ahead and describing you each and every regulation or the chapters or the subjects that I'm about to upload. Do you want the videos to be continue in this way where I'm creating notes hand in hand on the first place, or I can just create the notes and place the video? The benefit on that video is the video is going to be short and to the point. There you need not to write along with the video, and it will be a quick go through. So comment on the comment box and do subscribe to the channel if you're watching it for the first time, and help me with any suggestion or recommendation, and I'll see you on the next video. So it's going to be a little bit lengthy, and be prepared for it, and I'll make sure that I upload it as quick as I can. Hopefully in a day or two you would be able to see chapter 5 for this listing regulation. Yourself have a good one. Just enjoy your day and keep studying hard. Thank you.